particularly if she blushes right after you maintain that eye contact with her and maybe shoot her a smile. This is great. This basically means that, you know, yeah, there's attraction there, and yeah, she's hoping that you go over and make an approach. And in this case, that is what I did. I walked right over, and I'm like, you know, come on. And, you know, at first she was like, hey, like, give me a minute while, you know, she finishes up her crunches. But I'm like, you know, I'm on my way out the door, so I'm not really trying to wait around. And then, you know, I just did this again, and she ended up getting right up and coming right over to me. So, you know, we ended up exchanging numbers, but, you know, that's just a great example of the power of eye contact. You know, if you see a girl that you like, you should definitely hold that eye contact with her and then just shoot her a smile, see what she does. If she smiles back, okay, cool, I wouldn't hesitate to go over, you know, hey, you know, I wanted to come meet you, or you could even introduce yourself if that's your thing. But in this case, hello world, Prince here, and welcome to my channel, Gentlemen and Scholars, where we discuss dating, style, personal development, and so much more. All right, so if you're new to the channel, definitely consider taking a look around, liking and subscribing. As you know, it helps with the algorithm, it helps the channel to grow. It really does work to facilitate that strong, tight-knit community. So, you know, for today's topic, I figured I'd give another video on choosing signals, but in this particular video, I'm not going to go over each individual signal. I'm going to give some examples just to show some real life situations where these have occurred. You know, if you're looking for a video on, you know, just the different types of signals, I did make one on that. I'll go ahead and link that here. But for this particular video, it's more just to give, you know, a real life sort of perspective on choosing signals. So definitely make sure you stay tuned until the end. But, you know, without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right into today's video. All right, so jumping right in for today's video, we are touching on the different choosing signals. You know, I have 5 for you guys that I wanted to go over. I'm going to be sharing different examples, but the first one is going to be eye contact. To illustrate this, I do have a brief real life example, and this one takes place in the gym. You know, so one day I go into the gym, you know, I'm hitting my workout, you know, and then I make my way over to, you know, the machine where you're able to do the pull down. So yeah, you know, a girl and her friend ends up spotting me. And, you know, when I go to get a drink of water, when I come back, you know, they're using my machine. To me, you know, I think this was a ploy to get my attention. But, you know, when I called them out on it, like, hey, like, you know, I'm still on this, you know, I remember her looking like at me very deep in the eyes. And I can tell that there was something there. It's just a feeling I had at the time. But, you know, we ended up rotating sets. So, you know, I didn't do anything at that moment. Long story short, I ended up seeing this particular girl again, you know, and this is actually when I'm on my way out. I noticed that she's off to the side where the yoga mats are, and she's doing her crunches. But then when we make eye contact with each other, you know, I just smiled at her, and she ended up blushing and turning bright red. I mean, her cheeks were like cherries. So, I mean, this is a great example of a choosing signal, particularly if she blushes right after you maintain that eye contact with her and maybe shoot her a smile. This is great. This basically means that, you know, yeah, there's attraction there, and yeah, she's hoping that you go over and make an approach. And in this case, that is what I did. I walked right over, and I'm like, you know, come on. And, you know, at first she was like, hey, like, give me a minute while, you know, she finishes up her crunches. But I'm like, you know, I'm on my way out the door, so I'm not really trying to wait around. And then, you know, I just did this again, and she ended up getting right up and coming right over to me. So, you know, we ended up exchanging numbers, but, you know, that's just a great example of the power of eye contact. You know, if you see a girl that you like, you should definitely hold that eye contact with her and then just shoot her a smile, see what she does. If she smiles back, okay, cool, I wouldn't hesitate to go over, you know, hey, you you know, I wanted to come meet you, or you could even introduce yourself if that's your thing. But in this case, that's what I do. You know, if you shoot her a smile and then, you know, she looks away, totally, you know, trying to avoid eye contact with you, then obviously don't make that approach. But, you know, a lot of times you'll find this sort of in between where she'll look away and then sort of sneak a peek at you later on. In this case, this is like 50-50. You could go and approach her or not. All right, so choosing signal number 2 that I have for you guys today, this is going to be proximity. Okay, so proximity means that, you know, if a girl likes you, she might not give you that strong eye contact. Let's say you look at her and then she looks away, and then maybe sneaks a peek later, but you're like, I don't know if I want to approach her. You know, there's not enough investment there. A lot of times they'll end up putting themselves in your orbit, you know, by just coming around or just walking past you, you know, coming right in your line of sight, just to make it easy for you to make the approach if you are interested. So a great example of this is yet another girl I saw in the gym. You know, she was definitely, to me, one of the cutest girls in the gym. And, you know, I would constantly, you know, catch her looking over in my direction. And when she did, you know, I'd hold it with her and then I'd smile, and then, you know, she might look away or something like that and get back to her workout. So, you know, after it happened a couple of times, I'm like, all right, you know, I'm gonna focus on my workout. I'm not really, you know, not really worried about that. So anyway, I'm focused on my workout. At this point, I'm doing tricep pull downs. And, you know, I noticed her, you know, walking in front of me, you know, just going to different machines that are in close proximity to me. And, you know, I'm still doing my thing, focused on my workout, listening to my music. But, you know, when I go off to grab a drink of water, I come back and then she hops on my machine. And then I'm like, hey, like, you know, I'm still using that. She was like, oh, okay, like I didn't know. But to me, you know, in hindsight, I'm thinking about the whole situation and I'm like, she clearly did this to force an interaction. So this is just yet another example of proximity. I mean, it did happen in the first story as well, but this girl was going way out of her way to put herself in my orbit. So this is definitely something that you want to keep in the back of your mind because, you know, just one of those things that does occur. All right, so choosing signal number 3 for the top choosing signal examples, that's going to be bumping into you. This could also be considered any form of touching. But, you know, typically, let's say, you know, if you're in a group of friends and you guys are having a good time, but, you know, there's a particular attraction with you and a particular girl, you know, she might end up bumping into you, or, you know, her hand might end up hitting yours. And she might even say, oh, sorry about that. You know, a lot of times this is a clear choosing signal. Or you might be in a club environment. You might be in a bar and, you know, let's say a girl really wants to get your attention. She might end up bumping your shoulder, or, you know, she might be dancing behind you and then bump into you that way from behind to get you to look. These are the many forms of touching, and it's definitely a choosing signal. They are doing it on purpose. Well, at least in a lot of cases. To further illustrate, I'll give you an example. You know, back when I was in college, I actually went out on a date with this one girl. You know, we ended up going to this really cool spot. I actually was going to say it, but, you know, I'll keep that under wraps. But yeah, we ended up going to this spot. But, you know, immediately she already had a high interest for me just because we knew each other from college. So as I'm walking to the venue from the car, you know, I had already made a good impression just on the car ride there. You know, I'm asking good questions and she's becoming more and more engaged. You know, she's just bumping into me the entire time. And, you know, at that point, you know, when she continuously is bumping into you, you can, you know, grab her hand, hold her hand. So that's just another example, real life example of the touching choosing signal. So for signal number 4, for the top choosing signal examples, that is going to be the body position choosing signal. So typically what you'll see is, you know, if a girl's really into you, if she's really engaged, you know, her body will slowly start to shift towards the person that she's into. Her feet particularly will be pointed towards that person. If you're sitting down and you have a hunch that a person is attracted to another person, a good thing to do is just check the feet, see where her feet is pointing towards. If it's pointing towards a particular guy, I mean, it's not 100% accurate, but it is a good chance that she actually does feel some attraction towards that guy. So to illustrate this point, I do have another brief story. And this one takes place during a beach trip. You know, at this point, I'm wingmanning with a boy. So, you know, we're out walking the strip. And, you know, we get a little tired. You know, we had a few drinks. We're coming back to the Airbnb. And then we actually run into one of our neighbors that lives right next to us. And, you know, we end up having a really good conversation with her. But, you know, she had been drinking at this point. So, you know, we're talking to her and she's like kind of on 10. It was a good conversation though. She was really cool. But, you know, at this point, I'm trying to make a play for my boys. So I'm like, all right, you know, I'm gonna head in. But, you know, you guys should continue hanging out down here. But she was like, no, like I actually want to talk to you. And in hindsight, I did notice during the course of that conversation, her body was slowly turning more towards me. And I wasn't even doing the majority of the talking. It was really them two that were doing the most talking. But, you know, at the time, I really didn't think too much about it. In hindsight, I should have took that signal more seriously. You know, I kind of played it off, but you know, this was a clear signal that, you know, there may be some attraction there. Last but not least, choosing signal number 5. That one is going to be the infamous hair twirl. Now, I'm sure you guys have all seen this one, you know, or the, you know, flip. Yeah, that one. Full disclosure, women do this when they're feeling anxious as well, but if you develop a certain level of awareness, you should be able to discern when it is not applicable to attraction. So some real life examples might be, you know, you're sitting down, you know, maybe you're studying, getting some work done, doing some reading, etc. You know, maybe you look up and, you know, you're looking this direction, but a girl over here, you know, she does a hair twirl to sort of get you to look in that direction. That's one example. Or let's say you're talking to somebody and, you know, you're talking to a girl, she's sitting across from you, and then maybe you go and, you know, your backpack, or, you know, you go and look away for a minute. And then when you go to look away, she's actually twirling and fixing her hair to make sure she looks good for you. Or yet another example, let's say that you guys are standing close to each other, you know, you guys are having that eye contact going, you know, some good eye contact, some good conversation, and, you know, you could see that you guys are vibing. She might end up flipping or twirling her hair to reveal her neck, which is where the pheromones are released, which is obviously something that men find very attractive. So this is something to keep in mind as well. And as far as a real life example, my girl does this all the time. You know, we could be out at a restaurant, you know, eating dinner, and, you know, I go and look away, or, you know, I'm going to grab my wallet or whatever, and she's fixing her hair really quick to make sure she still looks good for me. These are all real life examples, so definitely make sure that you know, look out for these. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. If you do have any questions for me, definitely feel free to give a shout. Like, definitely subscribe, and hit that notification bell. That is extremely important. You know, it helps the channel to grow, it helps that algorithm, and brings us one step closer to facilitating that strong, tight-knit community. So definitely let me know, you know, down below what you guys think about this one. This one, you know, I really was trying to touch on the top choosing signals. So definitely let me know if you think I missed the top ones, or any of the top ones down below. But, you know, until next time, gentlemen and scholars.